This is the Yanks Go Yard podcast with Adam Weinrib and Thomas Carinante.
Welcome to the Yanks Go Yard podcast. I'm Adam Weinrib alongside Thomas Carinante. The New York Yankees could have had Corbin Burnes, but the Milwaukee Brewers are playing, asking the Yankees for a god-tier package while settling for some solid prospects from the Baltimore Orioles, a package that the Yankees undoubtedly could have matched, but they decided to make us exceed it, so we don't have him. We'll be talking about the latest update from Jon Heyman today, you can be sure, while also going through players on the Yankees 40-man roster who should not be here any longer. With spring training on the horizon, the 40-man used to have a lot of room to move around. It is now full. Gary Sánchez has signed a contract with not the Boston Red Sox, so that's kind of sick. And it's becoming clearer than ever that Scott Boras screwed Blake Snell out of potentially being a Yankee and currently having a job in Major League Baseball whatsoever. Thanks for joining us live today, 2 o'clock Eastern, Thursday. We promised we're a little bit late. I was on the phone with a Major League Baseball team. Which one? That's your guess. People can guess. We can also be found on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. And yes, we are excited about the Bogdanovich, Alec Burks trade. The New York Knicks are pretty deep, pretty good when healthy. But joining me today, Thomas Carinante, as always, thank you. First of all, thank you for being here. Second of all, you got an offer before we hop into the podcast.
Pleasure to be here. Thanks for showing up, everybody. DraftKings is here with us in spirit, and in the offer realm,
and in practice, in the realm of
offers. Anytime we can give you guys some help, we're gonna do it. And DraftKings has a fantastic sign-up bonus for new users. Super Bowl is this Sunday. Betting for many other sports, basketball, NBA, college basketball, hockey. If you do that, that's a little wild, but women's college basketball, plenty of stuff to do. So if you have not yet joined DraftKings, head on over to the site or the app. And if you're a first-time user, you sign up, you use our code YanksGoYard. You punch that in right in the beginning. You place a $5 bet on anything, and you will instantly claim $200 in bonus bets. You will also be rewarded with a separate no-sweat single-game parlay every single day when you opt in. Those little rewards, they pop up in your rewards tab. It's very fulfilling. And then you select them, use them to your advantage and to your pleasure. The best part is that even if this $5 bet that you place loses, you still get all the rewards. Boom. And on top of that, you punch in that code YanksGoYard. You're not only getting all of these benefits, but you're supporting us, Adam and Thomas, the Yanks Go Yard podcast, yanksgoyard.com, all the fun stuff that you like. So that'd be really nice and helpful in the new year, 2024. We're trying to do big things. We want you guys here along for the ride. Great way to start us off. Again, punch in that code YanksGoYard when you're signing up. First-time users. It's available to new customers who are only 21 and older and physically present in legal gambling states. Please remember to always gamble responsibly. Check the episode descriptions for full terms of the offer to see if you qualify. Man, if they had odds on the Brewers trying to completely screw us in trade talks with Corbin Burnes, I would have taken whatever it was. I would have taken any number and bet any amount of money. And maybe DraftKings would have offered like an odds boost for that. Hey, it's minus 10 million, but we'll give you minus 5 million.
Can we start with that? I mean, do we want to start with that?
Start with that.
Should, because look, who among us did not know that there's no way, as soon as we saw the trade package that actually went down between the Orioles and Brewers, where DL Hall, who's been in the bullpen for the Orioles, but will start for the Brewers, plus Joey Ortiz, plus a competitive balance round pick, go to Milwaukee for 1 year of Corbin Burnes. Now, one thing is true. The Orioles put a draft pick in there, a borderline first rounder, something the Yankees cannot offer because you can't trade a first rounder. You can trade a comp pick, and the Yankees don't have any of those. So we couldn't have said, well, we'll trade you the 26th pick instead of their 39th. That can't be done. So factually, the Orioles had an advantage of being able to trade this draft pick. But two prospects from their loaded farm system. MLB Pipeline is not the be-all, end-all. Baseball America is my more trusted source, but neither of these two people are in the MLB Pipeline top 100. DL Hall, again, reliever at the big league level so far, supposed to be a starter in Milwaukee. Joey Ortiz, slick fielding third baseman, but the Orioles have the kind of farm system that if you want the Orioles to trade with you, you can really try to make it hurt. That is what the White Sox have been doing all offseason long with Dylan Cease, because the Orioles have an absurd amount of top 30 prospects nationally. Jackson Holliday, number 1 overall. You're not getting him. But you could get Basallo, 17th overall, the catcher, first baseman. Colton Cowser in the outfield. Heston Kjerstad up there. Kobe Mayo, third base, first base, hybrid. Those are all in MLB pipelines, top 32. So pretty much top 30. Brewers didn't get any of those guys. Joey Ortiz, sorry, so sorry, is number 63 on that pipeline list. I apologize. Because he's now ranked as a Brewer. So I scanned past him when I was looking for Orioles. But Pipeline does not rank DL Hall in the top 100. They have Ortiz in that range. So the Yankees can't trade that draft pick, but what they definitely can do is Everson Pereira, Oswald Peraza, Roderick Arias. Right? Chase Hampton, sure. Oswald Peraza, Everson Pereira. That's a package I would have deemed light until I heard the Orioles package, which includes the worst of their top 100 infield prospects and a pitcher who's going to have to go back to the rotation after spending time in the bullpen. Might be good, might not be ready for that. Who knows? Either way, not the upper echelon Orioles prospects that they should have been asked to trade. Who do they ask the Yankees for? Thomas Carinante. Why weren't the Yankees able to trade Everson Pereira, Roderick Arias, and Chase Hampton? Which I might have said, well, that's a little bit of an overpay. A little iffy on that already. But why wouldn't the Yankees have been able to do that exactly? Who did the Brewers want in exchange for a player that they surrendered for much lesser value?
Oh, let me check my notes.
I
wrote it down earlier. Spencer Jones. They wanted Spencer Jones.
Give me a break.
And look, I could see a world in which the Brewers saying, just give us Spencer Jones and we'll call it a day. 1-for-1 swap. And do I deem that insane? Not necessarily. I think if they're going to shoot their shot, they're not getting Dominguez. I think every other team knew that. Mm-hmm. So your next best thing is the Yankees' number 2 prospect in Spencer Jones, who, again, may not pan out to be anything, but the early returns have largely been good. He had a little bit of a hiccup this past season, but the Aaron Judge comps are there. The power is real. The exit velo is real. The athleticism, the defense, all of it is real. It's just him. It's a matter of him putting it all together. But you'd have to imagine they asked for Spencer Jones and other stuff. We don't have the complete details on that from the insiders. We have John Heyman revealing this tidbit, and it was the same case with the Dylan Cease trade talks. They started with Spencer Jones, and that's where they wanted to go, and the Yankees would not entertain that.
Corbin Burnes is like if Dylan Cease was actually good.
Yes.
It's like if the metrics on Dylan Cease were a real person, he'd be Corbin Burnes. And so you trade top talent for Corbin Burnes if you have a chance to get him, and if you have the chance to block the Orioles from getting him, but not Spencer Jones plus.
Exactly. Andy Martino, 2 days before we wrote about this, said that the Yankees deemed the Brewers' asking price as too steep. And then we came back and we said, wait a second, what was the asking price then? Because we're looking at this Orioles trade package, and it indeed doesn't seem too steep. Number 6 and 7 prospects. So like you said, if you go with anywhere in that range with Arias, Will Warren.
I mean, we're all trying to trade Maia at this point just because he's so far away. We have so many outfielders, and they know that too. But Pereira, I mean, if you look at exit velocity in the minors, don't be fooled by Pereira's garbage month with the Yankees with all those strikeouts. Like, he and Spencer Jones have the top tier exit velocity of any one of Baseball America's top 100 offensive prospects. And again, I trust Baseball America over a pipeline. I just don't have the subscriptions. That's why I'm going down pipeline. Believe you me, Baseball America likes the Orioles system too. They rank all these guys in the top tier, and they're less enthused by Hall and Ortiz than they are by those top guys. Pereira is a get still. And so if the Yankees hear that Orioles offer, there's no good reason that Pereira, Warren, and Peraza should not match or potentially exceed that Orioles offer. But apparently, Milwaukee is intent on gutting the Yankees and not making this process painful whatsoever for the Orioles, who will not miss this comp pick or DL Hall or Joey Ortiz at all. That doesn't mean they're not good players. That just means the Orioles go, oh my God, we gave up none of the guys that we didn't want to touch. That's incredible. And now we have Corbin Burnes. That's amazing.
Yeah, I know here you're going to have to give to get, like, not denying that whatsoever, but
the Orioles didn't. The Orioles didn't have to give to get. So.
I think I would agree with that. Subjectively, I agree with that. In probably the way the Brewers were thinking about it, it was like, this is the most stacked farm system in baseball. They have constantly been hitting home runs with all these picks. Like, if we can't gut them for anybody in their top 5, people outside the top 5 are pretty damn good, or would be able to at least fit our picture. The Yankees, admittedly, have an inconsistent or non-existent track record with prospects and international signings. We know it's coming around. We're not being. Look, Yankees front office. We're acquiescing over these last few months. I don't know if you've noticed, but hope you're reading the good stuff and listening to the good stuff. But yeah, things have turned around. So for the Brewers to start there, and I would probably guess that if Spencer Jones was in the Orioles system, where would he be? 4, 3?
He'd be right around. I mean, the projections love him more than the reality loves him right now. But I don't see why he wouldn't be around Kjerstad, why he wouldn't be like the 4th or 5th guy in that system. But, theoretically, Pipeline has him in the 80s for the Yankees. Pipeline is the low man on Spencer Jones and the high man on the Orioles' entire system. Everybody else thinks Spencer Jones is like a 50 to 60 range in the top 100 guy right now, with the potential to be a top 10 guy by next year, in the same way that Roman Anthony exploded this year. Like, you look at everything underlying and it's like, yeah, we can't move him up the list because of his production last year, which was lesser than what he put forth the year before. But we're all pretty unified on the fact that he's going to rise up the rankings next year. And Pipeline is the only one where they're like, we're keeping him in the 80s. Look, I don't know, but all I know is that everyone agrees Jones is kind of a unicorn, and you don't surrender a unicorn if you don't have to.
Yeah. And there are 2 things here that I'd like to further elaborate on. So let's say the Yankees did trade Spencer Jones and one other person for Corbin Burnes, because I really doubt it would have been a 1-for-1 swap. You trade a potential future cornerstone, which, you know what, you might have to do if you're dealing for an elite ace. But guess what? There's another problem here. You're paying double Corbin Burnes' salary because you're in the Steve Cohen tax. You're beyond the Steve Cohen tax threshold. So Corbin Burnes' $15 million salary now turns into a $30 million expenditure. So now you're staring down. And look, I do not care about the money. It's not my money. It's a billionaire enterprise money. But when the Yankees are weighing that decision, they're looking at it through both of those lenses. They're looking at, okay, like, what's this going to look like from a public perception standpoint, where we're dealing someone like Spencer Jones, who's a pretty well-known name in the prospect ranks, and especially our organization. He's drawn comparisons to Aaron Judge. His athleticism is off the charts. He's a very uniquely built athlete. So there is a lot of potential regret there, which I understand. And then when you add in the fact that you're paying double the money, that probably sours it a little bit. I'm just telling you what the thinking is there. Secondly, this doesn't have anything to do with the reality or the results of the trade, but this is, to me, the purest example of a Yankees tax. And I get why teams don't want to trade with us to make us better, because we had our reign on MLB, and particularly the Yankees are a hated team, which I totally understand.
Yeah.
I'm sure Brian Cashman is not fun to talk to on the phone either. Probably a very unenjoyable, boring, dry phone call. And you know that he is probably trying to bully you around, and you're not for that. You're Matt Arnold. You're not for that. So
we're paying the dry phone call tax too. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Oh, I got to talk with this guy. All right. That's another top 5.
I hate this loser. So let's get rid of that comp pick. Let's put a better player in there.
Here, I think this is where the Yankees tax exists, because you look at the differences in the trade package. You know that draft picks don't count for anything. They simply don't. It doesn't even matter if you like a particular draft class. If you're picking in the 30s, that is the equivalent of picking in the 3rd round in the NFL. It's not even comparable. There is no way that the Brewers felt so confident about how deep this draft is that they're like, you know what, that number 37 pick, that's the deal breaker. That's going to make all the difference here. The talent gap, or the suspected talent gap, here is the main issue, because Spencer Jones is clearly a larger and more impactful name than any of the players that changed hands here.
Yeah.
So we have people on the other side who don't, who would think that we're just crying Yankee fans. They're just whining. Figure out something to cry about. They just got Juan Soto. Well, guess what? The reason we got Juan Soto was not because there wasn't a Yankees tax. It was because the Yankees were the only suitor out there that could satiate the Padres' needs. The Padres needed a ton of starting pitching, major league fringe level pitching, and the Yankees were the only team out of the others willing to trade for Juan Soto that actually had the framework to make a deal happen. And yes, the Yankees capitalized on the Padres' desperation with having to clear payroll and having to get something for Juan Soto because they knew they probably weren't going to be able to contend this year, given all the other pieces that they lost. But the Yankees were uniquely positioned to make that trade happen. And yes, they did manage to absorb the least amount of hit there. I would say that trade is the best Brian Cashman could have possibly done without surrendering the assets that he was truly high on. And the Yankees organization was high on.
Although, I mean, that was the package that was rumored up top of the discussions. Like, hey, these might fall apart because the Yankees don't want to pay King, Thorpe, Brito, Vasquez. And we were all like, I mean, I would do it, but I get it. And then we waited for Brian Cashman to negotiate. And then he was like, yeah, it's what the package is. It's the guys that I didn't want to trade earlier. So it's not the Yankees tax, but in a scenario where the Yankees are, like you said, the only suitor, Brian Cashman still had to pay that full quartet of people when he probably would have rather surrendered 3 and a lower tier lottery ticket or something, like a Brito, Vasquez, and one of Thorpe and King. The Padres still got all 4, which I am in favor of. I would do it again, but Cashman tried to negotiate that down, saying, we are the only game in town. We're not giving you all 4 of those guys. And he still had to relent to get the job done.
Yeah, and look, it is what it is. But you're right. I mean, that's more ammo in our end of the argument, because I think the only name that ended up being taken out of there, the Hampton was rumored initially at the top. It was like Hampton and Thorpe, and then the number of these other guys, and then at that point they were like, all right, we're not giving you 2. Top 10, but like that's crazy.
Heyman at one point was like, and 2 more, and it was like, well, what's the 2 more? And it was Higashioka and 1 more.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, look, the Yankees were the only team able to give the Padres what they needed, and they did it. And now they're trying to explore other trade packages, and the Brewers just doing this is odd. I understand that there might be higher value on Orioles prospects again because of the great work that they've done over the last few years. But if this trade works out in their favor to a degree that we were never expecting, I would be shocked. Absolutely shocked.
Yeah. I don't know what happened. I know exactly what happened here, but maybe they're just going down the MLB pipeline rankings. Maybe no one gave them a Baseball America subscription either, so that they didn't know that Everson Pereira is still highly valued by the prospect community. Because for me, Pereira, Hampton, and a third name, someone further away, feels like a better package than what the Orioles gave. And don't give me this deal breaker that the Yankees couldn't offer the draft pick and Baltimore could. I know that the Yankees couldn't, but I think that the Yankees could have offered something more valuable than a complete unknown. Instead, we're doing the Peter Griffin mystery box as the deal breaker between the Yankees and Orioles getting Corbin Burnes. It could be anything. It could even be someone roughly equivalent to the 38th overall pick. Oh, cool. Great. Let's see what's behind door number 4. I was frustrated with Yamamoto, obviously, because the Yankees staked their offseason on Yamamoto, and the fact that they didn't get him is the reason why people are saying they're having an underwhelming offseason, even though they objectively are having a good one. But he wanted to go to the Dodgers, and none of the plan Bs on the market make any sense. Snell, Montgomery at that price, Cease, except for Corbin Burnes, who we were told was not available, and was available and went to a division rival for a price that the Yankees could have paid, but weren't asked to pay. So this is more annoying than Yamamoto to me. Yamamoto wanted to be a Dodger. The Yankees didn't have Ohtani. It is what it is. It's annoying they staked their offseason on someone who played them, as Andy Martino kind of laughed about this week, saying teams that didn't get him are grateful they didn't get him. They can't believe it went to Garrett Cole's range, which makes more sense than saying we'll never pay anyone more than Garrett Cole's making. saying we'll never pay a Japanese importer who's never played Major League Baseball before more than what Garrett Cole's making. And how did he possibly get to that level before ever throwing a pitch? Makes more sense than just saying we'll never do it. But that situation ended up being based on a number of factors. The Yankees can't move to the West Coast, right? Literally not possible. You'd be mad if they did.
Probably can.
You'd be mad if they did, though. You'd be like, oh, man,
I'd be really pissed,
I like them because they play in New York, and now they play in San Diego just to get Japanese players. That sucks.
Now they're in Sacramento?
They can't do that. They can't do that. They can't get Ohtani, and so I guess you just have to move on there. But we were told Burnes wasn't available. And then overnight, he's on your division rival, and he cost a package that you could have easily matched, but you were told to match a different unreachable star, which is why this is annoying.
Yeah, I'm annoyed. I am. I mean, I was annoyed. I'm over it. This was a week ago.
I'm over it. I'm screaming because this is a television show on YouTube.com about the New York Yankees.
This is an act.
Baseball. Yeah,
it's all an act.
I'm not that mad anymore. Honestly, I'm almost on the podcast IL today. I got like a cut on my tongue. It's very hard to talk. So honestly, everybody should be thanking me and tipping us in the tip jar, because honestly, this is tough. It's tough to podcast. You got to believe me. But yeah, I'm no longer angry about this. It's just like, of course, that's exactly what happened. And hope. I mean, the Orioles were a 100-win team last year. Flamed out in the playoffs. Didn't do anything. Non-competitive in last year's postseason. If that was the Yankees, we'd be very annoyed. Annoyed with that. Yeah. And so they needed to make a move like Corbin Burnes, who they have not extended. And spoiler alert for future editions of the Yankees tax, you're going to hear every single fucking day about how the Yankees traded for Juan Soto, but Juan Soto isn't signed beyond this year. And isn't that crazy? And I don't actually think he's staying. And why would the Yankees mortgage their future like that? And they better win now. You are not going to hear that said fucking once about Corbin Burnes, who is also not extended beyond this year. It's just going to be like, big win for the O's. Got to get that ace. Grab that ace. Good job, young team. Got that ace. Neither one of them signed beyond this year, but you're only going to hear the Yankees raked over the coals for doing so.
Yeah. And I will add one more thing here before we move on, because I'm seeing a lot of Orioles discourse, and I think Fangraphs laid the law down yesterday, because Orioles fans were not happy about the projections. Because who cares about projections? Why are you doing this? Why does anybody care what a machine says? Play the season. The machine
is always wrong.
The machine is wrong.
Always wrong. The Dodgers and Astros and Braves have won the World Series every year, according to the machine. That is not true.
The projections exist for no reason other than to get fans riled up and to make somebody feel slighted, or to make somebody feel, and you know why? Because there's never a Cinderella projection. You're never seeing it's like, oh, the Pirates this year, 91-win team. There's no doubt about it. And everyone's like, whoa, what are you kidding? It's always just the biggest name or like the hottest team from the year before just doesn't get like the respect that fan base thinks it deserves. Nonetheless, I would say the Orioles outmatched their projections last year by a lot. And it's hard to maintain that. So I am going on the record right now, and I am saying that I do not care that the Orioles have Corbin Burnes. I don't think it's going to make as big of a difference as everybody thinks it might. Am I worried about him in a short playoff series or down the stretch when the Yankees need to win games to either keep pace in the wild card or maintain a division lead? Sure. Yeah. Corbin Burnes is a great pitcher. The Orioles are a good team, but until the Orioles show me that they can sustain this beyond 1 year, they've done this now for 1 year. This team has been a laughing stock since 2014, 2015, somewhere around
15,
there.
15.
Yeah. They got bounced out of the playoffs in 2014 in pretty embarrassing fashion. Was that the year?
Swept in the CS by the Royals.
Yes. Oh, it was the CS. I thought it was the DS. Okay, sorry. So they made the CS. That's great. So since 2015, they have been nothing but garbage as a result of this rebuild and the organization's plans or whatever. But like, until this success can be maintained for longer than 8 months, until this new ownership shows that they're going to actually be a force to be reckoned with on the open market, which is still going to take time because they can't do anything in free agency until theoretically next year, unless they were to sign, I guess, Blake Snell or Cody Bellinger when, the sale didn't go through, right? It's got to go through all this shit.
Yeah,
Bank
Carlos Baerga said they're about to sign Snell and JD Martinez and Gary Sanchez, but that's not true because Gary Sanchez went somewhere else.
So Corbin Burnes to the Orioles, very cute, very nice, important impact move for the Orioles to make. With the lack of pitching that the Orioles have in general, I don't know that this makes them an absolute behemoth that we should be fearing every single day. Their offense is very impressive. Their young core that they have is one of a kind. But again, until this can be sustained, until we could see this, if we could see this replicated into this year, sure, I'll buy in. 100+ win team, relentless offense, not great pitching that's somehow translating. Fine, sure. But it's been 1 year. Corbin Burnes is here for 1 year, and he's not here longer than that because the Orioles are not signing him to a $300 million contract. So yeah, I'm not. That's why if this was the Red Sox, I would be furious. Because that there'd be a potential to maybe sign him. Well, I mean, not this state of the Red Sox. These Red Sox suck. But if this was a good Red Sox team, I would be furious. Any other team in this division, I'm not scared.
Well, I would rather lose to the Orioles than the Red Sox anyway.
Yes.
But can't wait to watch that Netflix documentary, by the way, which either proves that MLB is rigged or it's the worst idea for a Netflix documentary ever. The 2024 Red Sox, Tristan Casas, Rafael Devers in a Dream, Nick Pivetta. Great. Can't wait to watch that behind the scenes, all access pass to one of the least interesting rosters in modern baseball. And by the way, Yankees bias. Oh, everyone's so biased. Everyone won't shut up about the Yankees. Yankees. Netflix greenlit 2 Red Sox documentaries yesterday. The first in-season baseball documentary they've ever done, which is probably going to interest the founder of The Ringer, Bill Simmons, as well as the founder of Barstool Sports, Dave Portnoy, the 2 biggest new media brands, both run by Bostonians. So Yankees bias, blah, blah, blah. Literally, shut up. All of the major media brands are run by Bostonians. I am proudly the only New York Yankees fan in media. Thomas and I are the only 2.
Yeah.
So good for us. We're the only 2 guys. Shall we talk a little bit about the 40-man problems heading into spring training? Although also, so the Orioles are more athletic than the Yankees at this point in time. I would say that is worrisome, and they're only getting more younger and athletic. But the Yankees didn't have Juan Soto last year. The Yankees didn't have a balanced lineup last year. The Yankees pitching was a worst-case scenario last year and should be better. We will see. The projections, the robots love us. So we'll see if we can actually live up to the robots for once in our lives. It would be fantastic. But let's talk about the issues on the edges of the 40-man roster right now, because the Yankees might be done heading into camp. Feels like they are after getting Caleb Ferguson. The 40-man is once again capped out. It is full. Once upon a time, a couple weeks ago, they were able to absorb some Dodgers in exchange for Trey Sweeney because the Dodgers roster was full and ours wasn't, but now ours is. Roberto, if Boston offered me a job, would I accept? Absolutely not. No chance, no interest. And they would scrub my old tweets and be like, wait, what are we doing? No, we're not hiring you. You're extremely rude to Dustin Pedroia and his brother in 2013. Don't Google what his brother did. Anyway, there's some roster casualties that still needed to take place here. The Yankees 40-man is not flexible at this point in time.
Nope.
They're signing people on minor league deals, and that's good. And I think they're going to sign people to a couple more minor league deals. Stay tuned for a piece that's going to run this weekend and what I think they can do. Some people are going to get mad. But I think more spring training invites are on the horizon, but no more 40-man moves because they're clogged up. But there are people here who just are not going to last past mid-April. And as soon as the Yankees need to make an injury-related move, these people are as good as gone. And only one of them is even a little bit promising at this juncture. I'll let you talk through the fodder here.
Yeah. And look, everyone's working hard. We know everyone's working hard, but there are clear deficiencies on the roster, and the Yankees have a lot of excess of things that they don't necessarily need, or guys who more so guys who are just have no roles. And we have been completely frustrated with how this team has constructed this roster, where it seemingly just added people for the sake of filling out spots with a lack of direction. So first and foremost, this is probably the easiest one. We have 5 catchers. 5 catchers is not sustainable.
We still have 5 catchers. It's crazy.
Yeah, I don't know how this is the case. We're sitting here and we know that it's Austin Wells and Jose Trevino as the major league players on the active roster. And then you have Ben Rortvedt, who's Garrett Cole's boy. I guess we should apologize for thinking that relationship was sour. It's not. Garrett Cole apparently loves him and just likes to fuck around with him, which I respect now. That's really cool. And he has options, so he'll be coming back and forth between AAA and the bigs, lefty bat, which helps when you got to balance the lineup. Who knows what injuries are going to happen? You know they're going to happen. And you have Agustin Ramirez, power hitting prospect. Both here, Agustin Ramirez and Carlos Narvaez were protected from the Rule 5 draft. Narvaez is 25. Ramirez is 22. Narvaez does not sport the power that Ramirez does. And his defense slipped when he got to AAA. So Narvaez is my odd man out among this crew. Do I think he possesses value? Sure. I think most catchers actually possess value. If you are competent at calling games and you could put the bat on the ball every once in a while, like that is what a calling card for a catcher is. But to have 5 catchers here and you to be the weakest link out of the 5 very clearly, I don't know how this is still an occupied roster spot. Then next for me is the bullpen. I understand we need left-handed pitchers. I am very much aware of that. However, there, to me, don't seem to be any role for Matt Crook or Nick Ramirez. Why? Matt Crook is 29. He was called up last year in June. He sat on the bench for 12 games before making his debut. And then the Yankees thought it would be a good idea to debut him at Fenway Park after going down 5-0 against the Red Sox. And he proceeded to get absolutely shelled. Justin Turner hit an absolute rocket home run off of him.
Well, don't worry, because he almost got out of it, but Josh Donaldson flubbed a grounder, allowing Justin Turner to come to the plate and destroy a grand slam and ruin his life.
Yeah. Still, however, terrible debut. And then really what did him in was the September performance against the Brewers, where he allowed 4 runs and didn't record an out. And that was that. So he had 4 tries at the major league level. He had 1 clean slate out of those. And then every other outing he gave up at least 2 earned runs. It was 5, 2, and 4. So take out the bad performances. The fact that he had 4 outings last year when the Yankees needed pitching help as much as they did, just in terms of from an innings eating perspective, I don't know what the point of Matt Crook is if the Yankees are not. The Yankees moved him from starter role to a relief role. You would think to use him as a swingman out of the bullpen, to come in and, be a Lucas Litke, eat 2, 3, 4 innings at a time in a disaster game. Or, if you're rolling in a game where the bullpen is tired out and it happens to be a close game and you're riding it, keep going. Great. But he wasn't utilized for that. I don't see how he's going to be utilized for that entering, I think it's his age 30 season coming up. Either way, that's far too old for a player who has had limited major league experience. And then to throw in no role with that doesn't make any sense to me. And then you have Nick Ramirez, who actually had a good year. I didn't mind Nick Ramirez whatsoever.
No.
Here's the kicker, though. He was great in outings that did not matter. His performance in low leverage outings was immaculate. And then once you put him in a high leverage performance, it was an absolute disaster. He had 10 games in high leverage performances, gave up 9 runs. I wouldn't mind having all of these guys on the roster if there was a clear plan in mind. There doesn't seem to be. I don't think there is. And based on the evidence that we have from last year with the usage and with the performances and situations that the Yankees would need somebody to step up, it doesn't warrant a spot for these guys. And then you have all these other injured players coming back that need to get innings and need to get back into a rhythm to return to form. And to me, it seems like these players would just be standing in the way to figure out how to get them back on track. So I don't know. Those are my 3. And it's just a lack of clarity here and odd decisions by the Yankees with compiling this roster so far.
Yeah, and these guys probably are not long for the team. Matt Crook, again, I know the reason he's here is because he was a Ray once upon a time. And they're like, an available Ray starter from the upper minors? Great, let's go ahead and grab that guy. But last year, I had high hopes. For him. It was among the worst performances in a regular season I've seen over and over again. And Nick Ramirez, I would say, in the Belichickian way of like, why wouldn't you get rid of him a year too early rather than a year too late? Mid-30s, soft tossing lefty who's only valuable in low leverage situations. They're going to go with Luke Weaver as the bulk guy this year. They've got Cody Poteet. They've got Cody Morris. They've got two higher ceiling lefties in Victor Gonzalez and Caleb Ferguson. And honestly, Crook has a higher ceiling than Nick Ramirez. So I'm thankful for his service last year, but we're much more likely to look back at that and go, when did Nick Ramirez do that? And why did he do it? And how did he have a 2023 season like that? Than we are to ever say, man, the Yankees should have never given up on Nick Ramirez. As for the catchers, I guess you can stash Rortvedt at AAA. Narvaez or Rortvedt are the odd man out. Ramirez is a top prospect, and they protected him this offseason so he didn't get grabbed in the Rule 5. I would contend that Rortvedt does not have much to gain from playing at AAA, whereas Narvaez might, which is why I might keep Narvaez, split time between him and Torrens, and shop Rortvedt, who is sort of a known quantity and could be someone's backup catcher right now, I guarantee you, but shouldn't be on the Yankees roster. So either way, though, one of those two guys. Gotta go. I'm sorry. 5 catchers was funny in November, much less funny now. Pitchers and catchers report next week, and they're going to actually have to share a locker room if the Yankees still have 5 catchers on the 40-man plus Luis Torrens. The clubhouse guys are going to be like, man, that's too many fucking catchers. What do we do?
Yeah, they literally all have to report, and then someone's going to have to go, I guess. That is interesting now to think Rortvedt could be dangled in a trade, but I don't know what that would. To me, maybe the younger guys would have more trade. I don't know. I really don't know. My thought was that the 40-man would have been somewhat more clear by now because there would have been another trade. I don't think it would have been a big trade. I just think it would have been a trade to get rid of or free up more roster spots, and we haven't had that yet. So here we are. Here we are wondering what's going to happen. But in terms of making the most out of the people that you're going to be shuttling from Scranton, the Yankees have these 3 players, in my opinion, or 4 if you include Rortvedt, that are not really going to move the needle and are not going to do much, or are not going to benefit you for, like, my idea of a guy being shuttled to and from Scranton. It should be one of 2 things. It should be a young guy in need of the experience to get the developmental growth for the next level, or it should be someone, for lack of a better term, that you are, using to the nub in order to get the most you can out of them, whether it's a pitcher, whether it's a utility infielder, and they have to have a clear role and, assignment. And the Yankees don't seem to do that. They just seem to fill out roster spots for the sake of having them. So if they want to use Crook as their 2-3 inning guy out of the bullpen, so be it. Start doing it. If they want to use Ramirez solely in low leverage situations, and never use him in a high leverage situation solely so he can avoid having the back end of the bullpen be taxed, then so be it. Do it. That, to me, I don't know what they're doing. So if they don't have a clear plan in mind, then they got to upgrade.
Get me Tony Kemp. Get me a purposeful last player on the bench, a chemistry inducer. Somebody who, good Yankee teams always have a player like Tony Kemp. You don't just cram people into the last spot on the bench and be like, this failed prospect should help in a 2-2 game in the 8th inning. Like, get you someone who can actually help instead of like, oh, this 28-year-old scrub is here. I guess we can send him up for a matchup, platoon advantage. No, don't do that. And speaking of aging, former Yankee scrubs, Gary Sanchez is back in baseball. He is back on a deal that could become a 2-year deal. He signed a $7 million deal with an option on Wednesday night. 2-time All-Star with the Yankees, recovered last year to actually be above average in San Diego, and one of the rare positive WAR offensive catchers, 2.4 B WAR last year for Gary Sanchez. Still only got on base at a 288 clip, but hit 19 homers with a 113 OPS plus, and that's actually a 116 OPS plus in San Diego because his 7 plate appearances with the Mets subtracted 15 points. He was a minus 15 OPS plus there, so it took some points off his San Diego totals. But good season last year. Gary Sanchez rumored to go to the Boston Red Sox. Oh, shit. Do I fear Gary Sanchez permanently? Like, do I think Gary Sanchez has another 35, 40 homer season in him, perennial all-star? No. But do I want him on the Boston Red Sox? No, I don't want that. I do not want him going Fenway Light Tower against the Yankees a minimum 3 times a year, probably more like 5. He loved that ballpark when he played for us. I don't want him in that ballpark, but I'm lucky. I'm a lucky guy because Gary Sanchez has gone to the Milwaukee Brewers, which is just fine. Odd fit with William Contreras behind the plate. Who knows if he makes it to the option year? Don't know if he's going to succeed this year, but I know that if he does, we will not be seeing him to the World Series. There are very few franchises the New York Yankees interact with as rarely as the Milwaukee Brewers. Godspeed. Won't see ya much this year at all.
Yeah, again, another team. I don't know what they're doing. This would be the 4th catcher on the Brewers 40-man, which now makes me think maybe they're going to trade Contreras because they're getting rid of people. They got rid of Corbin Burnes for that package. Why are they going to stop there? That's just my logic. There, I guess, is also the possibility that Gary is just the DH who can fill in at catcher. And I think $7 million for Gary Sanchez to be your DH and hit 25 home runs is probably a fine deal. Yeah. So I don't know what the Brewers are thinking. I don't know what they have planned after this. It is nice to see Gary land on his feet that second half with the Padres after all that unnecessary criticism he took with the Mets. Like, I remember Mets fans jumping up and down laughing that they signed him because they were convinced it was going to make us look like idiots. And then after his 3rd game, he had a pass ball and struck out 3 times. And then they were like, enough with this guy. This guy sucks. This guy sucks. Yeah. As much as Gary Sanchez might be frustrating to watch, he still has some of the tool. He was Blake Snell's personal catcher in San Diego. Blake Snell won the Cy Young over his last 18 starts that Gary caught, I think. His numbers were ridiculous, and obviously Blake Snell's June through September won him the Cy Young because his April and May were horrific. I don't know. I wasn't sure why the Padres didn't bring him back because they had a funny, unique opportunity to reunite him with Higgy, and which kind of would have been cool. And I think their other catchers are Luis Campuzano and somebody else that is not going to do anything.
Ethan Salas eventually.
Ethan Salas, yeah, in 5 years? Or I guess they're trying to as soon as possible.
Quicker, yeah, a little quicker than that, but yeah.
But yeah, it's good to see Gary land on his feet. It's unfortunate that it's probably with a team that's not going to compete, depending on what moves they have in store before spring training or opening day. But yeah, I mean, his second half was significant. It definitely should have earned him that money, and I'm happy for him. I hope it works out. But yeah, couldn't be more glad that he is not a Red Sox because you knew how that was going to bite us. And props to the Red Sox for refusing to spend a dime this offseason because
still waiting. Yeah, clock's still ticking. Red Sox, if you do want somebody to advise you on how to spend a dime, you can get me in the building. You can hire me. I'm available. No, I don't want to be there. I will ruin your lives. I will sabotage you for sure. I have no interest in you. I have no interest in you being good. And speaking of Blake Snell, before we go, I don't know if we disagree on this, but I am starting to feel like it might be Scott Boras or whoever's advising Blake Snell that have screwed him out of the opportunity to currently be on a major league roster. Blake Snell is not the only one who's unsigned, obviously. All of the Scott Boras clients are still hanging out. Jordan Montgomery, who's hanging in Boston and would be a pretty good fit for the Red Sox if they wanted to spend, is still not on a team. Matt Chapman, Cody Bellinger, Blake Snell. Scott Boras does a great job of not caring about when a deal gets done, but just waiting out a deal as long as possible so that he gets the right one. These people are probably not signing one-year pillow contracts. They want long-term deals. Scott Boras did not get them to the finish line. It is February 8th. Blake Snell is the most confounding one to me because there are flaws in all of these players. Not all of them should be treated this way, right? Jordan Montgomery is not an ace, but he's being held out like one. I think Boras is playing this wrong. But I think Snell is the one he's playing the most incorrectly because Snell is an inconsistent pitcher who's a 5-and-fly guy who can get to 6 innings every so often, but not that often. Teams have interest in him. They've communicated that interest to Scott Boras. The Yankees are still publicly the only team that has presented a formal offer to Blake Snell. That was 6 years, $150 million. Right ahead of their Marcus Stroman acquisition. So that offer got floated. It did not get accepted. The Yankees signed Marcus Stroman instead. rumor has it that Snell, the deal has to start with a 2. We've also seen reports that he wants 9 years and $270 million. That will not happen. I'm not saying he should have accepted 5 years, 6 years, 150. I'm saying that that's a pretty good starting point for a negotiation between the Yankees and Blake Snell. And instead of rejecting it outright, or whatever Boras and Snell did to chase the Yankees right into Marcus Stroman's arms, they should have kept talking. They should have gone, no, we'll do 180. We'll do 165. We'll do 170. Can you do 166? Can you get me near Rodon's 162? Either way, this conversation should have been much longer than it was, and Blake Snell is still on the market a month later, and the Yankees have given him the only reasonable-ish offer that he has received.
Yeah, I would agree that this is not being played. We could be wrong, but this is not the same as having Manny Machado and Bryce Harper lag into spring training as free agents. Those were 2 of the youngest free agents a team could have gotten their hands on back in 2018. And they had value beyond what guys like Jordan Montgomery and Blake Snell do. Machado and Bryce Harper are face of the franchise-esque people. Play every day, play both sides of the ball. I understand that there's a different value with starting pitching because they literally control the game every time they're out there once every 5 days. But Machado and Harper had kind of ironclad resumes at that point. I know like Harper had some injury troubles and Machado had some perceived character issues, but the track records here for Snell and Montgomery, I don't know if it's worth dragging them this far into free agency. For especially, you're coming off these stellar seasons, and now Blake Snell's proven he could do it twice. I love Blake Snell. I would pay Blake Snell. I'd pay Blake Snell $200 million. Other teams just probably are not going to do it. You do look at his numbers alongside Carlos Rodon's, though, and they're really not that different. Carlos Rodon for his career, 911 innings pitched. Blake Snell, 992. So that's an 80 difference of 80. They literally have the same whip. Snell's is better by 0.01. The strikeouts are similar. I think Snell's got him by 200 in the strikeouts department, but he's pitched 80 more innings. The ERA 3.83 for Rodon, but that's inflated after a terrible 14-game stretch this past year, and 3.2 for Snell, which I think is great. But they're really not far off in terms of their abilities and their durability and their overall impact as a starting pitcher. So I think Boras here is maybe overvaluing the Cy Young year for Snell. I don't think it's anything. Snell's never going to have that taken away from him. He has Cy Young in 2 leagues, which is absolutely incredible. But to get the money that I guess he's looking for, and look, it's a tough offseason because he's got his eyes elsewhere, being like, Yamamoto got $325 million. He's never pitched here. I've been here for 8 years and I won the best award you can win twice. That deserves money for me. That deserves $250 million, does it not? But it's a tough case. And I think at that point, we don't know the entire details around the Yankees offer, or if anybody else offered, I guess, or what Boras actually said. Did he say fuck off and leave the room, or did he say, hey, we'll work on that? And then the Yankees were like, actually, no, that was the best offer we're going to give you. So now we're going to go get Marcus Stroman. Look, I don't know. I would take Blake Snell tomorrow. I'd take Jordan Montgomery tomorrow. It's tough. And it's especially bizarre because starting pitching has never been sought after more in the history of the game. And these guys can't find jobs, which it reminds me of I'm just hoping it doesn't turn into the Chris Bryant situation where he sat on free agency for as long as he did. And then he's like, fuck it, I'll sign with the Rockies because they'll give me the money. I'm sick of baseball becoming that business where you're a Scott Boras client and you are literally, unless you're Jose Altuve, who's taking team-friendly extensions 3 times in a row, you are literally hunting the best fucking contract out there and you don't care where it is. I hate that part of the game. So I hope there's a resolution here, just not with the Boston Red Sox. That's it. That's all I ask.
Yeah, Montgomery, I'm still worried about a little bit there. But look, I'd take Snell, and maybe the Yankees did say, hey, don't bother negotiating. This is the best we could possibly do. But either way, it ended very quickly, and they pivoted to Marcus Stroman, who's somebody that I like, but isn't quite Blake Snell. And I respect the cost. I respect the efficiency of the Stroman deal, but can't believe Snell is just still hanging out there. And he's not coming here at this point. It's just not going to happen. Well, thank you for joining us, everybody. Thanks for joining us every Monday and every Thursday, 2 o'clock Eastern, or on all podcast platforms in the Aftermath, or in the Discord channel. If you want to hit that join button, we'll see you in there. You want to establish that community before the season begins. Plenty of time to get that fan community right. DraftKings, again, today's sponsor. The promo code is YanksGoYard on the screen right now. I'm Adam Weinrib. You can find me on Twitter at Adam Weinrib. If you search at Adam Weinrib Red Sox, you can find some objectionable tweets that would get me canned by the Boston front office expediently. Thomas Carinante, where can the people find you?
At Tommy's_takes. The Boston front office would also find disparaging stuff on my end. So don't ask me to work for you. Don't do it. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Once again, you can find us both at the official Yanks Go Yard Twitter account at YanksGoYardFS. YanksGoYard.com is where our bylines are at. Thanks for reading. We got a lot more coming for you. Roster questions, spring trainings right here, opening day, month and a half away and change, something like that. I don't know. It's going to be pretty sick. We're having a good time. Don't forget DraftKings. Code is YanksGoYard for first-time users. Place a $5 bet, get $200 in bonus bets, and then some free, sweat-free same-game parlays. Whatever the hell you want to do, it's a good time. Super Bowl is 3 days away. Got to capitalize. Once again, thanks for tuning in. We will talk to you on Monday. Enjoy your Super Bowl Sunday. Have a good one, and we'll see you.
Yeah, did you guys all get in it? Chiefs plus 2.5. Did everybody have that? Because good luck. It feels like too many people are on it, but
yeah, it's getting scary.
Chiefs are going to win the Super Bowl, probably. Right? Probably.
I don't
know. Yeah, we'll all find out on Sunday, and we'll talk about it on Monday. Thanks for joining us.